Hello and welcome to ACS Golf. Today, not outside because of the rain, not in my other sort of normal filming area, which is actually the conservatory of my house. We're actually in my office, which is upstairs, with actually all my golf clubs live. So behind me, you'll see my putters, limited edition Nike driver there, my actual golf club. So where everything actually lives actually in that corner, there's even more golf clubs and even more stuff and content that I will bring you in the future. Now, as the name of this video suggests, we're looking at Mizuno drivers and are they underrated? Now, I've played with a Mizuno ST200. I've played with a Mizuno STX, which is from 2021, Sony last year, which is their dual bias model. And I'm currently testing the Mizuno STG 220 or 220, which is actually from their 2022 lineup. Watch out for that video in the future. But the idea is personally, I will say straight off the bat, they are underrated. They're great drivers, and I'll go into more detail about the STG in a video that I'm doing in the future. But how far can you actually go back and actually get yourself a good deal and generally be happy with the driver that you've got? You know, obviously we're tailor-made and go all the way back to, well, years back. I mean, 2014, I've done a review on the SLDR, which I think very much is a very capable driver, even in modern day standards. You know, you've got the M2 in 2016, which some people actually say for TaylorMade is their sort of pinnacle, and barely there's been any improvement since then. And the same thing can say for Callaway from their 2017 Great Big Bertha Epic. You know, so there's plenty of older drivers you can get on the second-hand market, which will stack up against anything newer. You know, especially for people like us, like the high handicappers, the mid handicappers, who, you know, aren't hitting the ball 300 plus yards every time. So therefore, you know, the extra 2-3 yards you get with a modern driver, we probably wouldn't see. So with that in mind, I got this. I got nearly dropped the actual club then. I got this, the Mizuno ST180. Now this is from 2018. It's a lovely shade of blue, as you can see there. Breaking everything while I show you. There you go. Lovely shade of blue, which Mizuno did back then. Now, before I get into it, let's just have a quick look at the club.
So here's a nice close look at the club with the wave technology at the bottom and the weight at the back. You know, there's the face. Really do like the colour scheme with these clubs actually. The old Mizunos, the blue scheme there. I think it's just a very nice club, and also the Mizuno sign there for alignment aid there as well. Just a very nice, good looking club.
So there you go, there's a closer look of the club, the Mizuno ST180. I really do like that blue. I do feel a bit ashamed that they haven't kept that going. I think there's quite a lot of dash and blue in the new one actually. So the 230, which is coming out next year. So I've got all the information here regarding the club. Now, they've got an amplified wave sole, which is also known as. So there you go. Nice little look at the club there it was. So there you go. Looking at the club, So there you go. Nice close up of the club there. You know, I really do like the blue that they used to do on the Mizuno drivers. It's a bit of a shame they don't do that anymore. I think there is a dabble of blue in the new club coming out next year, so keep an eye on that, the 230. And there is a limited edition STX blue that they have released, if you want to pick that up. Now, going into the information which I have here on my trusty laptop, we have an amplified wave sole, which is supposed to contract and expand at impact to increase ball speed. So if I just show you, here it is. So there you go. And you can really see it when you're sort of looking at the bottom of the club. So there it is, it's sort of that gap there. Now, they've adjusted it slightly, but this has actually kept this through all the models up to this point. In the STG that I'm testing at the moment, it's in there. I believe they're changing it next year. What photos I've seen of the new driver coming out next year, it seems to be more of a sort of a tailor-made speed pocket, if you know what that is. So where it's sort of filled up there. So it'll be interesting to see what they say about it next year. Now, this is all titanium, 460cc, as most modern drivers. Now, TaylorMade and etc. and Callaway were playing around with carbon fiber at this point. They definitely, a few of them had a carbon fiber crown, definitely in 2017, for example, in 2016. So Mizuno weren't using that quite yet, but they did have this sort of waffle crown, they said, that they got in there, which basically is to save weight and to be moved to the sole. Okay. Now the face uses a forged SP700 titanium that allows for variable thickness across the face, so therefore it makes it as quickly as possible and also offers a little bit of forgiveness. Now, the last sort of thing about this club is the way it's designed. Now, the way they advertised it was very much that it was a low spin bomber. And because of this, and because obviously when it comes down to clubs that are low spin, such as the SLDR that I did review on, I mentioned earlier, they say crank it up the loft because it's difficult. Unless you've got a really fast swing speed, it's difficult to get the ball up in the air with a low spinning club. Now, what Mizuno have done to try and help this is they've created, sort of shoved the weight at the back there, made it really quite elongated, so very long head, and then stuck this weight right at the back of the club. And they've done this to try and force as much weight to the back to help with the launch of the club, so that, obviously you can get that ball in the air, even though it's a low spinning ball, low spinning club, and therefore to really maximize the distance. Now, that's also good. I mean, normally when you see, this at the back there, obviously it means more forgiveness because it's increasing the spin because you're changing, your loft of the club is actually coming through. So it's also for a bit of more forgiveness as well, because generally low spinning clubs are not that forgiving. So yeah, it's quite a good nifty idea what they had. Now, let's get down to range at Silvermere and let's see how this club did compared to my PXG, which is in the bag at the moment. You can actually see it right there. And then we'll discuss, is it a good idea or should it be avoided? So here I am down at Silvermere on a very, very cold evening. It was -2, which in America, etc., is 28 Fahrenheit. So I had all the layers on. And yes, I have to say I did struggle. Ball speed normally for me, because I did hit the PXG before this, ball speed for me normally is about 150 to 155. I was actually around the 145 mark. Total carry with the PXG was around 200 yards, and total distance on average was 230 yards. So I was warm for this, but again, it's a lot colder. If it was the middle of the summer, it would have been better ball speed basically, and the club head would have been moving quicker. Now, for using the Mizuno, the carry yard, was 153. Total yardage was 214, and ball speed was 145 miles per hour. Launch 9.6 degrees and height 27.65. Now, for me, I was getting the right ball speed, but I wasn't getting the correct carry or launch. Now, this is very much down to the club being a low spinning club and also being an extra stiff shaft. I'm normally using a stiff. So I struggled to get the ball in the air, which is basically, firstly for the launch. I'm never a big hitter in the air anyway, so that extra stiff shaft just meant that I didn't really come underneath it to pop the ball up in the air. And also with the total carry yards, obviously the ball was just not spinning at all. There was no spin on the ball, obviously very low spinning, and just wasn't going anywhere. So for me, I would normally, would have thought another 30 yards, on the carry, but I guess that's what it is. Now, the best I did, I managed to get up to 180 yards carry, 237 yards total distance, and 148.5 miles per hour ball speed. A little bit better at 9.9 degrees launch and 33 feet high. So obviously that one I did manage to get my club head speed up a little bit more. It meant it just went further, but again, very low spinning. I mean, that's nearly 60 yards of I've lost carry there, basically, because the difference between the carry there and the total distance of 60 yards is mad, really. So it's just, obviously for me, it's just not the club for me. I'd even set at 11.5 degrees to try and really help with that launch, but I just wasn't getting it. And you can see in this, I was really trying to go for it to try and get that spin up. But unfortunately, because of the weather and also, it started to lose control the moment we started to really go mad at it. So Unfortunately, I did top a few balls, which you might see in some of this video. I don't know if I've edited them out or if they're still there, so keep an eye out for that. But for me, it is a good club for the right person, and I will delve more into that back in the off. So there you go down the range. Now, as I mentioned during it, it was a very cold day. It was -2 degrees, so that's about 28 Fahrenheit. For anyone watching this in America, etc. Now, obviously, because of that, I'm not swinging as fast as I normally would, even with all the layers on, which probably doesn't help either, than I would be in the summer. Normally for me, I'd be averaging around that between 150 to 155 miles per hour ball speed. Actually, on the range, I was only getting about 145 miles per hour, but I did do also with the PXG to make sure that I was hitting, the same sort of ball speed, etc. That it wasn't the club, it was me. And on the day, it was me. Going back into numbers, as I mentioned, which I have up here, on average, 153 carrying distance, total 214 yards, total distance, ball speed around 140 miles per hour. So yes, it's going to be less than what I'd normally expect because I wasn't swinging the club as fast, because of the cold weather. Now, the issue that I mentioned though is that carry distance. So, really for me, on a good day, I'll be getting the club up to 250 total distance plus, carry around 230, 240. If I really go for it in the summer, which I have done, you get the odd one where I might get near 300, etc. But for me, that's sort of where my averages are. And with this club, I just struggled to get it into the air. I mean, unfortunately for me, I did get it in extra stiff, picked it up, but it's not, I wouldn't say it's the most stiff X I've tried ever. So I don't think that changed a lot. One thing to mention as well, obviously, with this club, as all of them, adjustability. So you could go up to, this is 9 degrees, you could go up to 11.5 degrees and go all the way to down to 7.5. So I actually had this lofted up as high as I could, so 11.5 to try and help me get it in the air. And I still just wasn't getting it in the air, to be honest. That 150 carry is not what I want. So even though I was getting a ball speed, because I wasn't creating enough spin or etc. to get the ball into the air and get that carry, the launch angle as well wasn't that great, which I never am, unfortunately. I just wasn't getting the distance that I would expect. Forgiveness wise, it was quite solid, to be fair. One thing about the reviews of this club is they did actually say by moving the weight at the back, it's maybe not as low spinner as it claimed to be. There was actually quite a lot of forgiveness in it, because normally with a low spinning club, like I mentioned before, you don't get much forgiveness. So it was sort of had low spin, but wasn't the lowest of spinner. So it did have some forgiveness in there. So forgiveness I thought was all right, but for me, I just couldn't get it in the air. So I think overall, our Mizuno an underrated brand when it comes down to drivers, 100%. They are fantastic. They're great little things. And I'll run through some figures with you right now regarding costs. So yeah, just talking about costs. I mean, the Mizuno I've seen on eBay, Mizuno STZ from 2021 went for £144. I've seen a Mizuno STX 2022 model go for £100. So these clubs, the recent ones, are still going under that £150 mark, and even near that £100 mark. And they are fantastic clubs and they're well worth the price. I mean, a TaylorMade Sim from 2020, that's still going around the 150 mark. It's in good condition. So you can get a Mizuno that's a year old, or say 6 months old, for the same price. I mean, for me, it's a no-brainer personally. All right, the Mizuno might not go as far as that Sim, but the overall package you get with a Mizuno driver is excellent. Forgiveness, decent length. You just can't complain. Now, coming down to the ST180. Now, these are actually quite desirable models because of the blue. A lot of people like them, like the JPX 900. So a lot of people will try and get these, but I managed to pick this up for £70. And £70, personally, I think, if you want to give it a go, it's worth a go. It's very much a club that it's either going to work for someone or it's not going to work for someone. For me, it's not worked for me. Now, maybe if I had a regular flex shaft, even though I'm always stiff with everything, maybe if I had a regular flex shaft that, really did very whippy and create a lot of spin, maybe then it would really help with the launch and, it'd be an ideal club for me. But it's going to be very difficult to really nail it and be able to say, yeah, this club's for me, the Mizuno STZ or Mizuno AZX, etc. It appeals for a wider range of golfers such as ourselves. This is very much targeted at a Pacific golfer who's got a very quick swing speed and is a low spinner, but also needs that forgiveness. So by all means, if you see it for £70, £60, and you've got a good swing speed, or it's a regular shaft, or you like the look of it, buy it. Give it a go. See if it's that club that works for you. I've mentioned before many a time, sometimes something you're not supposed to be able to use just works. So do get, so if you want to go down this route, do give it a go. Check it out, because then you'll be able to sell it on for exactly the same price and you won't make a loss. So have a look. But if you want to go down a Mizuno and you pretty much want to be guaranteed, well, not guaranteed that it's going to work for you, but have a higher chance that it is going to work for you, and you're looking for that more modern one, then Mizuno is a completely underrated brand when it comes down to the second-hand market, when it comes down to the brand new market. So do always keep your eye on it. I love Mizuno drivers. I think they're great. So do please, if you think about a new driver, have a look at them. For me, though, the ST180, I love the idea of it. I love the looks of it. But for me, it's not the right club. So this one will be sold and I will not be playing it. So yes. So there we go. So if you enjoyed the video, please do give it a like and please do subscribe to the channel for more things like this. We've got some great clubs next year that we're going to be reviewing that I've managed to pick up in the second-hand market that I think you guys would love, including maybe even hitting that old Nike limited edition behind me club as well for a fun video. And also comment down below if you do play a Mizuno driver, what driver is it, and if you enjoy it. So there you go. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next week. Bye.